here in Beijing, China, with MaeWen. Is that how you pronounce it? Okay. And MaeWen, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I have a PhD. I'm MaeWen Ho, Director of Science and Societies, Director of the Institute of Science and Society. We also publish a magazine called Science and Society. And in this conference, what I talked about was the hazards of GMO and where they actually come from. Because the problem with the artificial genetic modification is that it is inspired by a view of genetics that thinks that genes determine organisms in a very straightforward, deterministic way. And unfortunately, that's all wrong. It doesn't match up with reality.
Okay, and so this is based on data from how old was that?
It's based on kind of pre-1970s.
Oh, that old.
Exactly. It's completely obsolete. And since the mid-1970s, genetics has been turned upside down because we now know that the entire genome is fluid and dynamic. And it's always the genes, the DNA, RNA, proteins are always talking to each other and talking to the environment. And so there's a lot of feedback from the environment that changes the genes, changes the so-called genetic information in the tissues and cells. And so what this means is that that organisms are always doing natural genetic modification in real time. And the modified genetic information is passed on to subsequent generations. But you see, the difference is that the natural process is extremely precise, completely, precisely targeted.
And it's appropriate to its environment, is what I understood.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's completely context dependent.
Okay.
And it doesn't interfere with anything else that's happening at the time. In fact, everything is going on. It's like a really completely choreographed dance.
So it's like an animal that develops a certain type of camouflage because of the environment that it lives in. That's natural.
Well, that is natural,
yes.
And that is, and at the molecular level, everything, millions of molecules are always working together at any one time in a cell. But these are all completely choreographed and very precise.
But GMOs are not.
Of course not. GMO is basically based on overcoming the natural process and interfere with the natural process. This is why it can cause all kinds of hazards. I mean, it's really, really dangerous.
Because then the rest of the organism needs to sort of protect itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And the thing is, you see, now there is no doubt that GM feed and exposures to GMOs is dangerous. Because if you've got independent scientists, scientific information, scientists in the lab, kind of really corroborating everything that the farmers have been observing in their fields, animals dying of all kinds of horrible illnesses.
And the mothers have been observing with their children and in the classrooms.
Absolutely, but we have been hearing nothing because they've been so all this information has been suppressed from the mainstream, from everybody. We've been kept in the dark.
Yeah.
So this conference was a real eye-opener. Everything came together. The farmers were here, the scientists were here, the consumers, everyone, mothers like yourself. Mothers are the most important. I think what you're doing is extremely important, and I'm glad you told all the mothers present at the conference to do the same.
Yeah.
Just ban GMOs from your home in the first instance. Don't give it. I mean, it's cruel to give it to your children under such circumstances.
Yeah.
This has been a real eye opener for everybody, and I'm sure that this whole movement is going to be unstoppable.
That's right, unstoppable. Thank you so much, MaeWen, for such a brilliant scientist as yourself. To see that this conference made such a big impact is truly significant. And your contribution was unique, it was specific, and it was a huge part of why this conference is a success. So thank you so much for your tireless work and your commitment.
And thank you for your work.
Thank you. Okay.